Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob Ent podcast, the best sports podcast in New Jersey. Make sure you hit that like button, share, subscribe. We're trying to be here for a good time and a long time. It's holiday season. This is Christmas Eve is when we're recording it. You'll probably see it on Christmas Day, maybe Christmas Eve night, depending on how things go. You know it's the holiday, so I got a lot of stuff to do. Miles, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Happy holidays. A lot of things happened this year, but it's good to come back for the holidays and appreciate everything family wise and what you have as a collective there. So
Facts. This is my favorite holiday of the year. Love Christmas. I think it's the best one out of all of them. Like you said, family time, friends, our listeners, our subscribers, our supporters, our viewers. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Lahayim if you Jewish. I don't know any other holidays outside of that, but whatever you celebrate, if you celebrate, happy holidays to you. On this episode, we're gonna be talking about, of course, the NBA Christmas Day games, the NFL Christmas Day games. The NBA, do they have a problem with marketing the next era of players? And of course, we're going to end off with, because we're an entertainment show, also sports and pop culture. Me and Miles love TV shows, love movies. So we're going to give y'all our favorite TV shows, our favorite movies of 2024. I'm going to mix in there some Christmas movie too, because I realize, I don't know about you, Miles, I'm actually this year, more than other years, I'm more of a TV show guy. The series, I have been locked in. I was going through all the movies that was released this year, and I'm like, I ain't watched a lot of these. But the TV shows, that list was way, way harder for me to create. So that'll be in the show also. We're gonna start off with the NBA made a post. They posted Steph, KD, Bron, the OG's conversation. The NBA is like chingy. Like every time they try to leave, they try to move, something keeps pulling them back. They refuse to let go of this big three of players, rightfully so. These are all first ballot Hall of Famers, but it seems like they aren't doing anything to move to the next phase of players. What was your thoughts when you saw this post by the NBA that, and it wasn't like it was Spring Hill Media, it wasn't the boardroom. This is the NBA promoting this to drop on Christmas Day.
yeah, I mean it's because an era's coming to an end. You can feel it. Like LeBron has probably a couple more years. Steph, he could play another 4 or 5 years, but I don't know if he will. He might go out maybe right after Bron does, just because it's like, all right, I've done everything. I got 4 championships. Same with KD. KD, it doesn't seem like he's too worried about his legacy at this point, and he's not chasing LeBron. He's not chasing anybody. He's got his rings, and he'll go down as one of the greatest players of all time, and that won't change. So, whenever they have these conversations, these group discussions, they usually happen after the player's done. But seeing as how, like you said, there's an issue with ratings and um, people aren't as interested in the NBA as they've been in the past. Like the conversations that they've filmed before, like Shaq and Kobe's conversation, Magic and Isaiah Thomas, those are like supposed to be like nostalgic conversations, like reminiscing and all that stuff. And like
Mhm.
seeing these guys reminiscing while they're still playing, I'm just like, you're right. The NBA does have a problem. Like Anthony Edwards is a guy that should be taking the reins at some point, but I don't know. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's stalled out, but all that everything from last year is kind of like flatlined a little bit. So for him, I don't know. Wembenyama, he's a cool he's a cool player. Like he's gonna be great. He's just not everything that he was talked up to being, as far as like this revolutionary player. Like he's generational. Sure, like he does a lot of things blocks wise, and he shoots a lot of threes. But it's another guy that marketing him, it's going to be tough uh, as the face of the league. So I don't know where the NBA goes from here. They got to hope that LeBron commits to another 4 or 5 years because he's the easiest. Like if you see the NBA's posts and all that stuff, they they post LeBron whenever he's playing because it's like he's the modern day Jordan or Babe Ruth. He's the biggest figure that anybody can talk about in this sport. Period. Regardless if he's healthy, even when he was out for those couple weeks, the conversation is like, "Oh, what's happening? What's happening?" Like that's all they care about is they move when LeBron moves. So when he puts that 2 week notice or that beginning of the season saying that I'm retiring, everything is going to change a little bit. Like you're going to have to figure out like, oh, do we push some of our markets more? Like, do we push Cade? Do we push like Jalen Brunson a little more since he's the big time star in New York and they're great? Like, they got to hope a team elevates to the point where there's a clear cut star that everybody resonates with. But like Curry, Bron, KD, like they're it's going to be a while before we find somebody like that. Like LeBron will be talked about for years to come, and I don't know anybody playing right now. Tatum maybe, but even him, he catches a lot of flack and hate and all that stuff, and it's it's not on the same level Brown was getting hate for. Like the way they hate Tatum, it is what it is. It's like the new age Twitter stuff that people don't.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I'm interested to see how we move forward this way, and I want to watch that conversation when they drop it. But I don't know, man. NBA, they're in for a rude awakening. Like you got ratings already falling, and these guys are still playing and competing for championships out there. Like, just wait until they retire. They might be behind MLB as far as ratings, which is pretty far down because nobody watches.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's some flaws, and we'll talk about the Christmas Day games and preview that. But like when you see a Christmas Day slate of games and there's no OKC on it, you got SGA, one of the biggest stars on and off the court, fashion wise too. Granted, it's a lot of players now that don't have personality that isn't marketable. Like you said, Wimby is going to be great, obviously, but outside of that, Wimby don't show much personality, anything like that. Players that you would think, John Morant, Anthony Edwards, Ja got in trouble. Anthony Edwards, no fault to his own. Like you said, his flatline, they traded for Julius Randle. Nothing, it wasn't his fault that, that all this got stalled out. But it doesn't seem like the NBA on their aspect, on the business side, the marketing side, they have a plan of what's coming next. I think, like you said, it's a nostalgia thing that you had this conversation once they retire. They should have did a three. Again, I don't have $1 billion company. I don't know how to. This is just my opinion on how they should market it. Cool, you got the three conversation. You should have made the OGs, and you should have been the new kids on the block type of conversation where you chose 3 players, 4 players, 5 players. Tatum, Ant Man, SGA, Paulo, John Morant, Luca. Could have did a conversation like that with preparation because they not gonna play forever. With preparation of hey, they gonna leave at some point. We've all had jobs where we know, all right, it's coming down to the end. We start putting some fillers out. Let me start checking this job out, letting them know that I'm interested. That's what the NBA needs to do. I think they are absolutely failing in that department. I think if David Stern was alive, he would have had something lined up, set up. We saw it with the wave when it was they start promoting Tim Duncan or start promoting Shaq when he was in Orlando. Like they had a plan of like post Jordan, this is what we gonna do. This is how we're gonna promote it. We're gonna start pushing these players and these teams in this market. And you got in the biggest markets, you got the Knicks balling out. Of course, y'all own LeBron, nutsack still, but Lakers ain't really balling like that. Clippers is playing decent, but New York is still balling. I don't think they're promoted as much, and we already talked about SGA and OKC. They aren't really promoted. Jokic, as good as he is, it's in Denver. They not really promoted like that. We'll see what they do. Like you said, though, I will be tuning in. I'm just saying, they could have did it differently. I don't think they have a plan with it. Going into it, these three players, all star. You can now vote. Who are we probably had the same regarding starters, so we probably gonna have a conversation on the reserves. But who you got starting in the East?
In the East, I got Brunson Towns for the Knicks. Top two guys. Towns has been the best center in the East so far. That's been healthy. I mean, who knows if Embiid would have been healthy, maybe this would have been his spot. But Towns, I mean, coming over to New York, that's a big change, and he's taking it by the reins. Um, so him and Jalen, we'll put Tatum in there as a small forward, but it's positionless, right? You don't even kind of like
Yeah, it's positionless.
okay. Um, Giannis, another guy that you almost, as long as he's healthy towards the break, he's going to start every year that he's in the East. And my fourth guy, I might put, oof, that'd be tough to leave off guys from Cleveland, but I kind of like Cade. I like Cade to start the All Star game. He's been playing really well. I think he's averaging over 10 assists a game, running the point over there in Detroit, and they're playing a lot better. Right now, they're positioned in the play in, which, I mean, 13 wins at this point in December. I mean, I don't think we've seen that many wins besides the football team in December for a Detroit team in a while. So that's pretty good. But that's my East starters. Those are my East starters.
Same exact lineup, except I got Donovan Mitchell in there, like you said, because of the winning. I think he's gonna get the nod.
Yeah.
On my reserves, I got Kate on my reserves. So my reserves in the East, I got Dame, Garland, Jalen Brown, Cade, Derek White, Jalen Johnson, and Evan Mobley.
Hmm. I'd probably say the same thing. I haven't been watching Miami that much. I feel like Bam will get some love as far as reserve votes for that. But um, yeah, I'd probably say Evan Mobley too. He's taking a step forward. Jalen Brown, same thing. Dame, that's a given. And then, like you said, Jalen Johnson, he's really taken a step forward as far as being a good player in this league, a great player possibly. I mean, they paid him right before the season started, and he's averaging what 20, 10, and 5 at this point. So only like a handful of guys in the NBA are averaging that, or can come close to averaging that. So yeah,
On the West Side, these are my starters: SGA, Luca, Jokic, Bron, and I'm actually going to give the nod to Wemby over KD.
I might agree with you on that. Just because Wemby, when you look at the numbers, they are kind of crazy. What 24, 12, 3 assists, and then almost 4 blocks a game. I think even yesterday against Philly, he had like 7 blocks midway through the second quarter.
Like 10, his last three games are like 10, 8, and 7 in blocks, which is
Mhm.
nasty work. And I'm giving him a nod because KD only played 18 games so far.
And that's what I was going to say. I was going to say because KD's been hurt, so I don't know if he'll be an All Star, but I just don't think that he'll be a starter at this point. But the fan vote, I don't know if they've changed that much. So
Hey, that conversation that they dropped might help in that regard. So he'll probably get voted in. If I'm choosing though, I got Wimby. Just on the fact of, like I said, KD only played 18 games. Who's on your reserves for the West?
I got Jalen Williams. I'm gonna put Jalen there. Ja, I think Ja gets. There's a question mark with Ja. Ja's been. He's had some games where he's been up and down, but I feel like Ja, just off of the name, he'll get in. Um, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, D Book. I don't know if I ran out of room yet.
Oh man, this is hard.
Yeah,
I'm
the
looking at my
West is
list.
tougher because like De'Aaron Fox is there. I feel weird like excluding him, but they're not good, so kind of have to. Um,
You
Portland,
think he gets traded before the trade deadline? Well, that's not in the offseason for De'Aaron Fox.
I think they'll wait till the offseason. It's smarter to trade him now, but um, I don't know if they're gonna get as much as they could now for him, knowing that he's going to test free agency anyway. It's kind of like the Juan Soto and the Shohei Otani walk here. Like you could trade these guys to contenders now and get something for them, so you're not asked out when they leave you. But because he's going to leave, I don't see
Yep.
him coming back because he wants to be on a winner. And even with bringing Demar in, they're not winning. So but now that he switched to Clutch Sports, they might push that trade for now to try to get up out of there just because he's like, I'm wasting my
Yep.
time over here. Sure, you brought my best friend Malik Monk over here, but that's not good enough. Like, I'm trying to win in this league, and you don't win in Sacramento. Not since C Webb and them were there. So,
And like you said, he might miss out on All Star again because of you playing with the Kings. They not that good. Last year they had a winning record around All Star break, but still, you playing with the Kings.
mhm.
He definitely you got Rich Paul as your agent, so we know how Rich Paul move. We know how Rich Paul moves, so he'll
this,
be moved probably like you said by the deadline.
this is
To your
tough.
point, I forgot about D Book on my list.
Uh-huh. I forgot about Sengun too. Sengun's another one that I like. Kyrie's up there too. I mean, I don't know if he'll be an all star. Maybe because of the popularity, but it's a tougher list in the West than it is like the East.
I know some ones that are definitely locks. You got J Dub, obviously you mentioned KD because I don't have him starting, so KD definitely he'll still make a squad. Steph will still make a squad for sure. Ant Man is going to make a squad. I think who might get some love too and might be in that conversation of people that's on the bubble. James Harden. Um,
Forgot about him. Shoot.
James Harden's been balling. Anthony Davis is probably a lock too because he's actually been better than Bron, but he ain't gonna get the more votes than Bron, so Bron's gonna end up starting. Um, you might even want to put Zubac in that conversation. He's been playing pretty good. Sengun's been playing good. John Morant. So the West is a little bit more difficult. And like you said, D Book too. I knew I forgot somebody on the list. I knew I forgot somebody on the list. I didn't have D Book. And funny enough, as a Lakers fan, I forgot AD. I'm like, oh shoot. He said I heard Anthony Edwards and you said Anthony. Oh, Anthony Davis is another Anthony. I forgot. Dang. AD definitely he definitely gonna make it, but it's extremely hard in the West. Way more difficult. Especially in the East, you got injuries. Like Melo, I think was on pace to make a All Star team, but he's an All Star on the
Oh,
changing table.
it's tough. I thought he was going to be a possible starter the way he started this season, and I'm looking at
Facts.
his game. I'm like, this is the guy that you expect every year. Like he's this good, and then what happens? He gets hurt again. It's the story of his career at this point. Well, the story of that family, because if you look at his brother, he missed a couple years because of injury. So
Jello too. Jello. Missing a
watch,
lot.
they're gonna end up with a lawsuit against Big Baller Brand for them shoes ruining their
Hey,
their knees and all that stuff.
Lonzo has already came out and said he feels that's a part of it. I just don't think they're gonna sue their dad. I don't think they're gonna do that, but definitely cause some injuries. Um, I don't think he obviously went the full correct route of making sure they were top tier sneakers. Christmas Day games, first one on the slate. Your Knicks are at home against Wemby and the Wembyettes. How you see that one going?
This one is always a tough one. I want to see Towns versus Wemby. That's a good matchup. It's a weird, you know, weird Christmas Day matchup. Knicks versus the Spurs. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Um,
Maybe that's their attempt of trying to promote Wemby.
It definitely is because against us, it's a weird matchup. Christmas Day it's looking this year for some of these games. So, but starting off with the Knicks Spurs, I think we win. We're at home. We've got more firepower. Chris Paul's been running the show over there, and he's got them over 500, which was expected. But Wemby's going to have to be asked to do a lot, and we've got some defenders over here now with OG and McCall's been playing a lot better. So I think we're starting to hit our groove a little bit. So I got the Knicks winning.
I'm going with the Knicks winning, but I do think Wemby has another one of those monster games 25, 12, 8 blocks, something crazy like that. Next game on the slate, I believe, is the 76ers Celtics. Like you said, it's kind of this year. Is Embiid going to actually play? Is Paul George playing? They're not actually good so far this year. I see the Celtics winning this one, probably a landslide. I think Tatum will be back. They'll probably hit some crazy number, 28 threes out of 74 attempts, and win the game. I don't have any interest. It doesn't spark my interest like it did at the beginning of the year when we saw this on schedule. Why Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey against it? It don't have none of that muster anymore.
I feel like if they could, you know how the NFL they'll flex people out of the Sunday night games. I wish they could flex Philly out of this Christmas
All
Day game.
televised games
Yeah,
flex Philly out.
yeah, flex them out, put somebody else in because Celtics are going to run through them because their team is healthy and a lot better than what we've seen from Philly. Um, Paul George not playing that well. Granted, he's dealt with some injuries, but what's he averaging? Like 16 points a game right now. That's not good enough for someone making 40 some $1 million a year. Joel Embiid, he's arguing with referees, and not just referees, women referees, and it's just showing me that he doesn't really want to play because you could have just walked away. It was a charge. Sure, you're not happy with the call, but let it go. Um, and then there's a lot more put on Tyrese Maxey, who I think he's taking a little bit of a hit just because of all the chaos that is Philadelphia right now. And the Celtics, they're just moving through the season. I don't want to say through the motions, but they know they're going to be one of the top teams and they'll be there in the Eastern Conference Finals. The East is an easy conference to play in. They're worried about staying healthy. They got Porzingis playing better. He's played great since he's come back. Jason Tatum, he's playing well. This team is another. They could win another championship, basically. And like you said, at the beginning of the year, this looked like a good slot. They bring in Paul George. You're thinking like, all right, if we're getting regular season not playoff Paul George, then it's going to be a great matchup. But it looks like we're getting playoff P right now, and it's in Boston. They're not going to do well in Boston. Embiid should play in this game, but it doesn't matter.
I wish they would have switched, like you said, flexed it somehow. Put this game, what was that, 2 days ago, and give me that Magic Celtics game on Christmas. That'll have been way more intriguing and exciting. Shout out to Jamal Mosley. I mean, at this point, we don't typically give awards this early, but Adam Silver, just send that man the Coach of the Year award. The man has basically got his arms tied behind his back, hopping on one leg on top of hot coals and blindfolded, and is still having this Magic team ball out. You got players literally 1 through 12, 1 through 15. At any point, somehow he has them ready to, I'm going to call your number. And at any point, Suggs, go drop 35. Bataze, go drop 20 and 12 and dunk on Giannis. Like Cole Anthony, come off the bench and go give me 20. Somehow has them ready. And shout out, we mentioned earlier, the Pistons are in the play in. Everybody was kind of, a little perturbed and a little confused about, hey, Bernie Bickerstaff, JB Bickerstaff. I said his father, JB Bickerstaff say, yo, y'all not wearing no jewelry, y'all doing it. Y'all not gonna look like y'all in a rap video. You're not gonna be hanging out with Sexy Red. You're not gonna be doing none of that. I want y'all focused on ball. Ah, that's a young squad. I don't know if you should be doing that. Hey, 13 wins. K balling. Ivy balling. They getting production out of Tobias Harris. Like, shout out to Detroit and Bickerstaff over there. Those are two coaches that have been doing a supreme job. They don't have the most wins, but nobody expects this, especially again, the Magic. You lose your one, two, three, and one of your best benchmen, and you still out winning games. You just beat the Celtics. I would have rather seen them on Christmas Day. The last couple of games, any of them really spark your interest? We got Nuggets, Suns, T Wolves, Mavs, Lakers, Warriors. And of course, they did Lakers, Warriors like to my point before, they just can't let it go. They can't. Steph, Bron, they just can't let it go. Any of these last three, which one sparks your interest the most that you'll be locked in for?
Probably Lakers Warriors, just because we get to see Draymond Green and LeBron James come together. They'll be eating dinner later after the game, but um, that's one of
Most
those
definitely.
that's one of those better matchups of we get to see LeBron on Christmas Day. That's one of those staples where it doesn't matter what team he's playing for, he's going to be playing Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Same with Steph Curry, and we got to appreciate these matchups when we can get them. Because Lakers, Golden State, or Bron, Steph, these have been matchups that we've loved for the last 10+ years. While LeBron has bounced from Cleveland to LA, it's good to see these matchups still being available. But besides that, nothing else really piques my interest. Like I wish they would leave the Christmas Day slots open, and then once they get it like a month in or towards the end of November, they do like a raffle of the teams that are playing well, and almost from that you pick which matchups you think would be great, like Knicks versus Cleveland or Knicks versus Boston or something like that, and then maybe OKC versus I don't know Houston. One of those better matchups of like some good teams. You can go cross conference too, like maybe a potential finals matchup like Boston against OKC or something like that. Just them picking ahead and basically like I know Giannis was upset about it, but whatever. It's Milwaukee. We could care less if you're in it or you're out of it. But like I agree that there's got to be a better way of picking these Christmas Day games, just because you've set in stone in what June or July, August, whenever they make the schedule for the upcoming season. That's way too far in advance to be making these games. Like football, whatever. They've got like a few days to heal before some of these games. That's why you do that. But in the NBA, you give them a chance. Like maybe you set up the schedule for some teams to have like 81 games, and then you add this one in for that 82nd game, or some teams play an extra game. I don't know. They just got to figure out a different way of going about the whole Christmas Day choosing of the teams.
I
Because
think they should set it up kind of like the in-season tournament where you have it kind of blocked off, especially once it gets to what is that, the quarterfinals and whatnot. They have
yeah,
it blocked off. If you're not playing, y'all get a break. It's a week, and have it set up like that the week of Christmas, kind of like another break within the season, which all the players would love.
yeah,
All of the players would actually love that. Set it up that way. We have the top. What is it? How many games is it tomorrow? It's like 4 or 5 games. We get the top 10 teams. Maybe not the top 10 record wise, but the most intriguing 10 teams, best matchups, and set it up that way in regards of how many total games and whatnot. If a team ends up over a game, maybe you decide to take a game off their schedule. I don't know. But I think that's a really great idea. Like, yo, set a week aside, and then you get the best possible matchups, especially because it's Christmas and you know everybody is going to be tuned in. Now tomorrow it might be a little bit different story because the NFL say we don't care. We are big brother, y'all little bro. We gonna actually have Christmas games tomorrow, and at one of the Christmas games, we gonna have Beyonce performing, and it's gonna be live on Netflix for the world to see during the Celtics Sixers game, actually, which is very interesting. I'm pretty sure a lot of people, especially the female crowd and the Beehive, will turn off that 76ers Celtics game to go watch this performance in Houston. It's yeah, in Houston. So the two games that's on tomorrow, yeah, I guess the Ravens Texans is a more exciting one for me. The Chiefs Steelers, being that it's two teams that struggle offensively to be consistent and put points up, seems like it's going to be a defensive battle. Which on my Christmas, I have no desire to watch anything like that. I will probably tune in just because I know we're gonna have to talk about it on next week's episode. But I see the Chiefs winning that game.
Yeah,
They pull it out some way somehow. Reports came out that Pickens is supposed to play in the game for the Steelers tomorrow, but I still see the Chiefs winning it.
I, yeah. For some reason they've got the juice. Like they can't lose at this point. I don't. Who beat them this year? Who's the team that beat
Bills.
the Bills? Okay, that makes sense. But for them to be 14-1, that's a testament to luck and also these are they're like the Patriots. Good teams find a way to win, and they've been a really good team for the last 6 years now. Since whenever Mahomes took over the starting job. Um, for the Steelers, I feel like Pickens, if he's not 100%, don't put him out there. You need him for the playoffs because, I mean, like you've seen in the past few weeks, it is tougher when you don't have that big, tall guy who can, win the 50-50 balls out there for Russell Wilson. Like he struggled. So, but I do have the Chiefs winning this game. This is a really big game for the Steelers because they're now tied with the Ravens. They had a couple game lead and a couple losses took away that whole division lead. So if they want a home game in the playoffs, they're going to have to beat the Chiefs. They're going to have to beat some of these teams down the stretch. But I just don't see that happening here. Um,
I don't
so
see it happening either. Like you said, y'all lost the division. Ravens probably won it because Ravens Texans tomorrow. I see the Ravens winning it. Tank Dell out. Even though Ocho told him to have some McDonald's to heal up and whatnot, he ain't playing tomorrow. The Texans have not looked good all season. The offense doesn't look what we expected. Oh, they signed Diggs with Tank Dell and they bring in Mixon and CJ Stroud is already a top five QB and he's gonna ball out this year. It hasn't looked the best. They still have a winning record, but I see the Ravens with how they've been rolling, with how Lamar Jackson been balling. They made a good decision too. They got rid of Deontay Johnson. They I see them winning this game tomorrow. Um, I don't care about Beyonce performing, but because you already know how I felt about Beyonce. I could care less about the Beehive. She's overrated. She's a great performer, but she can't sing. Um, so I won't be tuning in. I could care less about her standing on the car with the red roses and she's home. I'll tell you this: it's not going to help the Texans out. That's not going to help them win the game. They'll probably be watching at halftime too, because I could see this being a game where Ravens win comfortably.
and this is the only way you get Beyonce to a Texans game. If she's not performing, she's not going. So uh, shout out for the marketing for that. Baltimore got them winning this. You mentioned Deontay Johnson. That was a move I feel like they did to block other teams from getting him because they haven't used him. They didn't. That guy's a good receiver. Like you could use a good receiver. He could have been a solid number three. But on this team, you really only need a couple receivers. They got Bateman and they got Zay Flowers. So, but he moves on to the Texans. So maybe this will be a stop that he's able to help them uh, come playoff time. He probably won't play today because that would be a crazy turnaround of learning plays and stuff. But um, he'll be able to stand on the sideline with a mean mug, looking at John Harbaugh, saying, "You gonna see, you gonna see." But the Ravens, they're I think moving forward, like they're going to be a first round. They're going to win the division. My bad. They're going to win the division just because they have a easier slate of games coming up.
Hmm.
And Lamar Jackson, this can be another way of him. I don't want to say solidifying, but maybe helping with the voters for MVP. Even though he said he doesn't really care about that, which it's a good stance to take. But I know you care about getting the third MVP. That would mean a lot, and that would stamp you as. I already think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback as is, but you three MVPs. Like I think Rodgers has four, um, three or four. That would put you in rarefied air, and that would put you up there as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Which after draft night, I don't think many people thought that would be the case. But
No.
he's taken so many steps forward as a quarterback. It's great to see. The next step is just being able to beat those teams that are keen on the run and not allowing you to do what makes you you. Um, and that's usually in the playoffs. So I'd love to see him win a Super Bowl at some point, um, whether that's this year, next year, 5 years from now. But just keep going, just keep improving. Same with CJ Stroud. He's taken a step back this year. He was one of those guys in the preseason that we were so high on. And
Yeah.
the receiving core we talked about as like one of those top five receiving cores, like them, the Bears. But look, maybe there's something to be said. Too many cooks in the kitchen, or maybe the play calling is just not that great because he's taking a step back, and I didn't see that after he was called a top five quarterback by only Greg though. Greg's the only one who said that, y'all. So, um, I wasn't that crazy, but um, we'll see. I hope it's a good game. I hope both games are good because it feels like they're trying to reenact what we get on Thanksgiving. Like everybody's at the table, we're sitting
Hmm.
eating food. We've got football games on. Because just build a new tradition. Because this is during the middle of the week. Sometimes Christmas is on a Saturday or a Friday, so then it's easier to plan. But um, I know these guys are still icing up because they played a game a few days ago. So
Yeah.
hopefully everybody comes out of this game healthy.
You might see something with because of that point. You might see slow starts in these games because they played recently, but yeah, we'll see how that go. Like I said, the NFL really is big, bro. NBA's little, bro. We come in your trap and we take over. That's what they did, and they probably gonna keep this going because before this, it was like maybe 25, 26 years, something crazy like before the last Christmas game. I might be off with the number, but it was a while ago before that they had a Christmas game. It wasn't something often. It was like an unwritten rule that it's the NBA's holiday, and I know Drew Holiday and Paul George on his podcast. Funny enough, you have him. That's a whole nother thing. You about to play the Celtics, and you have Drew Holiday on the podcast. Lets me know you really locked in on your opponent. Anywho, they talked about how Christmas Day is still NBA for me. That might be for you, but when we check these ratings out after Christmas, we might see the NFL took over again, and actually, y'all didn't do too well, especially this slate of games. I'm not None of those is really doing it for me. I love to see. I'll watch because I'm a basketball junkie, but none of them do it for me at all. We ending off. We probably This is our last episode of 2024. So we have some guest episodes coming up that we're going to record and whatnot. So we'll probably have another episode that drops on, I think it's the 30th or whatever, 31st. We'll have some more episodes, but Bench Mob, specifically the cast of Bench Mob, Tone and Miles, this is the last one of the year. So we're gonna end off with our favorite movies of 2024. I'm gonna tell you now, I ain't really got any, so I have some, but I couldn't come up with five. So I'm gonna go Christmas list. For me, Home Alone, Elf, Die Hard, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and Four Christmases.
Okay. For me on Christmas, I don't know. They're not Christmas movies, but I like
Mhm.
watching the Harry Potter movies because I just got to my parents. I turned the TV on and they've got a marathon of the not Christmas, the Harry Potter movies going right now. And I mean, I feel like that's a perfect movie. If you can't find something, those movies you could just put on loop and just watch from the Chamber of Secrets all the way through towards the end. So,
So the whole Harry Potter series for you.
no, no. I just had to mention that because I was like, when we finish, I'm gonna see what else is going on. Like maybe maybe they're still going with the movie. But for my movies, I have Juror Number Two. I thought that movie was well
It's
written.
on my list. It's on my list to watch. Thank you.
Uh, who did that? Who directed that one? He's a famous actor. He's got Clint Eastwood. He directed that, and he's a great director when it comes to movies. And this is another one where it was a crazy plot, and you're just sitting there wondering like, what's going to happen? Like, is he going to get discovered as guilty? And let me not give it away, but if you haven't seen that, go watch it. I think it's on Max right now.
Yeah, it is.
Smile Two. That's like the scary movie with once you see someone smile and look real demon like, you have a solid week before it's your turn to go. So if you don't watch scary movies, you'll pass on this. But I thought the second one was better than the first one. Um, Gladiator 2, that was a great movie. That was one of those underrated ones for this year. I think, sure, Denzel, as he usually does, carries a movie pretty well, playing the villain. And I look forward to him playing more villains. You know, Wakanda Forever. I heard you're gonna be in the next one, so more power to you, Denzel. But um, yeah, I thought that one it wasn't as great as the first Gladiator, which
Okay.
you know sequels are usually not as great as the first one.
Cause I heard mixed reviews about it. They was like, nah, Denzel's good in it, but the rest of it is trash. And some people was like, hey, it was a good one. So
It was
I
it was
forgot
good.
to ask you your thoughts on it.
I like Gladiator too. I think sure if you're going in there with the expectations of you've just rewatched Gladiator, this is a movie that's come out 20 plus years later, so of course they're not gonna it's not gonna be the same as what we got before
First.
from the first one. Like there's not many that top the first one. So if you were going in expecting like, ooh, this I hope this is better, sorry, but you were probably disappointed. Like Top Gun. Top Gun was the second one, I'd have to say was better than the first one. So that's one of the rare ones that you can say was better. So for those who didn't like it, maybe rewatch it. Sometimes, it hits different on the second watch. So, but um, I got two more. Monkey Man with Dev Patel. I think he's a really good actor. Doesn't get a lot of love, and the movies that he's done, like Slumdog Millionaire and what's it, The Life of Pi, I think those are really good movies, and um, I like him as an actor. And I wish it got more respect because I think it was supposed to go straight to like DVD, straight to like Netflix or one of the streaming services. But Jordan Peele helped push it forward and get it like a good release in theaters. So, and then Longlegs, that was a scary movie that came out a few months ago. That was a wild ride watching that movie and um, seeing all the demonic things that come up in that movie, and you're trying to figure out what's the connection between these certain dates and these kids or and whatnot. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Nicolas Cage is in it. I'm sure you're not watching it for that reason, but
I
he
was
does,
about to.
he does a really good job in that, playing the role of this, I'd say, scary figure. So
Yeah, it's not often we can put great job with Nicolas Cage behind it. So, as you say, if you check it out, It ain't gonna be for Nicolas Cage. He say he did. He say he did good, but Nicolas Cage in general, that IMDb is weak. I am not the biggest fan of Nicolas Cage. Your top five. This was extremely hard for me. This list is this is the Western Conference for me. Top five TV shows this year.
I was trying to go through my list of shows I've written down because I share a list with my sister. Um,
I be doing that too.
so I could put her on the shows and she'll like we'll check it off to see who's seen it and all that stuff. So um, Shrinking, that's one of my favorite shows on Apple TV. Um, I just like the way it feels personal and people can relate to how dealing with the mental health and getting help from people when you're too afraid to ask for it. It goes a long way, and they do add the funny parts or components to it too. Day of the
That
Jackal.
that last episode.
Oh shoot,
Get
yo,
tissues. Get tissues.
yeah,
That last episode.
I know when
Boy, that junk hit me different. But go ahead. You said the day of the jackal. Cause that I'm just saying that last episode, I'm not gonna have it on my list because you mentioned it to give variety for people to watch.
yeah,
But I put it on threads like, yo, this last episode of Shrinking, bruh. Yo, it hit different. And they dropped it around the holidays.
I know.
Beautiful marketing, beautiful idea by them. Hit completely. I'm sorry I interrupted your list, but Shrinking, bruh. All awards, every single award, give it to him.
Who's it? Harrison Ford. That last scene, that was when he finally stood up and started talking, and that was real emotion from everybody. Like that wasn't like where you're trained to have tears. Like that's one of those where he was going on, and everybody can relate. Like you never know how much time you have with a loved one. So when he started going on about that, and I don't know how much time I have left, like I was just like, damn, like yeah, I started to tear up a little bit too while I was watching it because I'm like, damn, like I'm looking at um, around the room, and like you said, it's filled with a lot of people that he can be a little tough, but it's a lot of people that love him, and it's reciprocated in his weird way of showing it sometimes. But um, yeah, that was yeah, I might rewatch that. I not to try to cry, but like that was such a good episode, and then the way it ended, where I'm thinking like, oh shoot, is he gonna?
he was done. He
He
was
was gonna.
about to jump. He was
Yeah, I
about
paused
to
and I was like, wait a
jump.
second, like they really about to do this right now? Because I'm like, okay, he missed the text, and she's gonna find the phone and be like, shoot,
I'm glad it didn't end that way, bro. I'm like,
which
nah, you're not gonna have the Harrison Ford speech. You're not gonna have the mother actually show up with the pie and the boyfriend show up actually, even though she sabotaged it. All these good feel good moments, the therapy working, people are making changes and improving in their life, and then y'all ended the season with man hopping on. I said, no, don't do it. You can't end it like this. Don't you do it. I'm gonna let you actually finish through your list. So, as y'all can tell, like I said, I'm TV shows. I'll comment on your list once you're done. The next one you mentioned was Day of Jackal, which was really good, but I'm gonna shut up now so you can finish your list.
no, Day Jackal. I like those shows that they don't give it all to you like immediately. Like The Bear could easily be on my list, but I left it off. They just popped in my head now. See, that's how many shows. Like I was trying to look through the list, I couldn't find all of them, but these are the ones I got. Day of Jackal. Even the way that ended was kind of crazy. I know that people are going to listen to it and they might watch it, so let me not. I'll just give my list. I'm not going to keep talking about it. The Penguin. That was really good, and I'm hoping that leads into the next Batman movie because that first one I thought was really good. I know people didn't like how dark and evil and gothic that first Batman movie was, but it was a different spin on it, and I liked it. And the Penguin, same thing. If forget the actor's name, but he did a really good job playing the Penguin. And yeah, Presumed Innocent. That was one of my early favorites this year. I kept thinking of like, who did it? Who did it? How are they going to get out of this? Like, and all the evidence points towards this one guy, and how is he going to figure out how to get out of this? And yeah, I'll leave it at that. If you watch it, go watch that. That was crazy. And then I'm gonna go with Shogun. I thought Shogun was well done. With just a different story from maybe like 400 or 500 years ago, and yeah, that show I think should win some awards if it hasn't already. Um, but yeah, I know Tone's gonna have somewhere. I'm gonna be like, damn, how did I not think of that show?
So off that list, right? Day of Jackal. Again, we're not gonna do spoilers, so we're not gonna spoil it for y'all. But I like the shows that it's twists and turns. You don't know what's gonna happen, what's going on. Definitely Day of Jackal. To your point, there's this show called Elsbeth. I hate it because it shows you the crime and who does it. I don't need to watch the rest of the show.
Yeah, I think that's on what Paramount Plus.
I think so. It's like I saw somebody suggesting. I'm like, let me go check it out. And I'm hoping at some point in the season it ends up being that she actually solves it. I already saw it, who done did it. I don't need to then see her process or how she figured out who did it. I'm like, that's corny. I don't know who came up with that concept and they greenlit like, oh, that's gonna be good. No, no. I hope it doesn't get renewed for any more seasons after this. Straight booty. Penguin, that was on my list. Go check it out. Really, really good. And I forget the actor's name too, but the actor that played the penguin and got into the fat suit bodied the role completely. Of course, Presumed Innocent. We talked about it when we had that show with Kwame.
Yeah,
Very good. Shogun is on my list. I've heard literally probably about 10 people now mention one of their all-time favorite shows, Shogun. So for those watching, we could watch it together because I ain't seen it yet. We got the podcast. I got two kids. We be having stuff to do. So when we fit shows in, we fit shows in. But I ain't get to it. I got some other stuff on my my to do list before Shogun. But on my list, I got Supercell. Supercell. I'm looking forward to. I believe they're gonna renew it for a second season. If not, I hope they do. The director already said I got season two already ready. I got it ready. Just greenlit it. I got it ready. So Supercell, Lioness,
mm,
Zoe Saldana.
forget about
Yeah, yeah. And it has moments in there too. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's a part in there on the most recent episode. She comes back. She's like, I ain't know if I had a home to come to. He said, "You always got a home to come to, baby." Really, really good lioness. Tokyo Vice,
that.
really good. Not typically my bag to have to read the captions and whatnot, but it's going to be worth it. Check out Tokyo Vice. I think that was that HBO Max? That was Max, right?
Yeah,
Max and Apple TV and probably third Paramount. Y'all put out some bangers this year. Bangers. Apple TV, hands down. I'll probably finish off with my last two. Another Apple TV pick. Bad Monkey. Bad Monkey. I liked it. Kind of a little mysterious. Didn't know what was going on. Vince Vaughn is in it. I think that's one of his better acting roles as a serious role. We know him in comedy and stuff like that. Killer. But in a more serious role, with obviously he mixed comedy in there. I liked him in that. And most recently, and I've been telling any and everybody that would listen, no good deed. No good deed. If you want to watch something that is, oh, what, who did what? Very well done. It's stories within stories within stories within stories. Literally, you get into it, and I love those series that you 10 minutes in. Oh shoot, this is oh shoot, this is gonna be something special. And I haven't finished. It's the season isn't done, but another show that's like that that's on now that's not done. The Agency is good. rabbit hole. I haven't finished watching it, but that one, um, I don't care spoiler review. I only been 2 episodes in, so I can't spoil it really for you. But Mans gets framed for a murder. They splice him into the camera feed that he was actually there for the murder, even though he was actually helping commit a crime for somebody else that had nothing to do. His clients then frame him for murder, and he's on the run trying to figure out who's framing him. He thought it was his best friend who hired him. His best friend commits suicide while he's there. Now they got him down for that murder also. It's dang, I can't think of man's name. He's in 24. The dude that was in 24. The
Hmm.
white guy in 24. He's the star in this show. Really, really good. Yeah, I could go on and on. The list of I literally, if you looked at my notes, I got a list of Dark Matter, The Gentleman, list of shows right here for me. I love it. I absolutely love it. So maybe I don't know. We'll probably do more stuff like this, including TV shows, especially next year. We already know some shows coming out and some movies that's scheduled to come out next year. Whatchamacallit like coming out.
Severance in a couple weeks.
Severance, yes. I gotta go watch. They dropped the little 8 minute
Man, I
clip.
saw it. I was like, oh shoot.
They got me excited. I was watching the shrinking and I saw the little thing pop up. I said,
Mhm.
"Oh, it came early." Nah, it's 8 minutes. January 17th it dropped. So yeah, yeah, I knew y'all was doing when y'all did that, man. But you turn your notifications on, Apple TV, Paramount. You ain't gonna miss none of these shows. You turn on your notification with us, we'll keep you locked in. Really, me and Miles will keep you locked in regarding the TV shows and movies. That's not Greg's bag, but we'll keep you locked in. And you just turn on your notifications, you won't miss an episode at all. That way, you feel me? You stay ready on what to watch. So you ain't gotta get ready. You can come here and we'll have you prepared for whatever's coming out so you can stay ready so you ain't gotta get ready. Bitch mob be out. Peace. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. All that good stuff. Protect your liver.